Hello, everybody. It's Bubba Rob. How's it going? Good, I hope. Can't do the double thumbs up because I'm in the Sentra and I need one hand to hold the stick that holds the camera. So you only get a single thumbs up, but I can do it twice, right? Anyways, how's everybody doing today? All right, good stuff. And my eyes are flickering. The skin tag's getting in the way of my glasses. Anyways, enough said. I was in awfully deep thought this morning. I started reading a book on wasabi. I got so into it on my iPad. God, next thing I knew, an hour and a half blew by, and a third of the way through the book. Wow. It was so good. It was just a really good read, and I could probably finish it by today if I set my mind to it, if not tomorrow. But anyways, my topic of today is change. And what I mean by it isn't necessarily making a change, which we do, everyday changes, but the acceptance of impermanence. Does anybody understand what I mean by that? I hope so. Anyways, I'll try and explain it the way I understand it. But basically, we live in an imperfect world. And one of the hardest things we have to do is accept is change, and things aren't perfect, no matter how hard you try, especially when it comes to personal issues. And you're trying to figure you're sorry for that. You're trying to figure out what went wrong. But not necessarily the thing to do is to try and figure out what went wrong. It's just accept the fact that it did. It is what it is. And you don't really have any control over it. And I gotta say, it's taken me a long time to get a grip on that. And some days my grip is a little bit tighter than others. It's not always there. You've heard me say this before, the pot calling the kettle black. Oh my God. Yeah. But in my journey of kindness, right? I almost forgot what this channel is about. But, you know, the willingness to accept that things are changing, especially as we get older, from one moment to the next, and one day to the next, 1 month, 1 year, can be extremely difficult. And I believe, I know myself, but people are always looking for excuses or reasons why. And there may be no reason. But people don't leave it alone. Right? If you don't have the ability to leave it alone, how can you get on to the next thing and be present in the moment to have your best life? That, I tell you, that's a lot easier said than to be done. I mean, if everybody could do that, there wouldn't be a booming industry of therapists, right? You know, I would think our goal should be each day we should continue to learn and do our best, but also have the ability to accept our failures and possibly improve on them if you can, but move on from it and leave it alone. Is this making sense? I hope so, because when I have conversations with different people, you know, people a lot of times they just like to talk, or you know relieve their stress or whatever, and things kind of come out if you're willing to listen. But that's one of the biggest things that, that people really obsess over, is why things aren't working out. Like they're like it must be to do with how our culture has changed. How we view things, like say in social media, when people represent themselves as being absolutely perfect, and they're willing to do whatever at all costs to become the best. And a lot of times that can really promote some unhealthy habits, right? Especially if you're using different substances, or you're, say, getting really obsessive over your dietary needs uh, to become better. I mean, that's just one example. Like, look at bodybuilding. I mean, I'm a huge bodybuilding fan. I mean, I was into it when I was younger, like in the powerlifting thing. And, you're always striving to get that pump, to get bigger, get stronger, and all those things. And it does cross your mind that what are you willing to do to get to that next level, right? And that's no different with how people approach things like their appearances, right? Like if somebody doesn't accept their looks, or they feel they're ugly, or they're aging, they have to get plastic surgery. How vain are they? How does their ego take over of their life? All these sorts of things. And it really stems from, I believe, is that we're just not able to accept either imperfections, or the ability not to accept change, right? You know, that is really important. And I really believe it is a failure of our societal norm and how things have changed. We don't really have the capacity to understand, or the genetic ability to keep up with the changes in our environment and our world, especially as far as advancements of technology and things like that, right? People get confused, they get frustrated. I mean, one of the things I would really like to see, and I'm sure there's some school systems that have it, I say a majority of them don't, but I really like to see that school systems implement things like mindfulness, stoicism, different philosophies into their curriculum, or even yoga, to decrease the stress level and teach the young people to accept that things don't have to be perfect. You know, I think we're just seeing the beginning. Probably, well, mind you, it's been come along for a long time, but we're just seeing the beginning of mental health issues popping up because of things like the cell phone, like what I'm using right now to make this video, right? People need to feel good about themselves, but need to feel good about themselves in a way to where they can accept things as they are and be happy with it. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. I see it all the time. I was in having tea, talking to a couple friends of mine, and there was a young girl sitting in Starbucks. I found out she was sitting in there, I guess, since they were open. She was having a tough time. Really sad. Sad. Really sad. You know? It's just sitting there. Nobody to pick her up. Really sad. Actually, the good part is one of the staff members noticed it, and she was kind of taking care of her, make sure she was okay. But anyways, I'm sorry to kind of diverge from the subject, but not really. But I think a lot of these things, people, they just can't accept things the way they are. And that's what we need to do, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let the pressure of someone else take your peace. You don't necessarily have to be better than the next person. You can only strive to be better than yourself. And whatever that is, you have to have the ability to accept it. And we have to have the ability to accept that we're getting older and things change. Okay? That's really what's important. Anyways, I love you all. I hope you have a great day. The most important thing is just to be a good person, to be kind, and be kind to yourself. Okay? Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.